It's the new and improved vibrating function with a spare battery, large blast podcast shopping channel edition. And we have got some hot and spicy Warhammer bargains coming for you on today's show today. I'm your host, Stoney, and I'm joined as always by my hosts, Matt.
Life is the Emperor's currency. Spend it well.
And my hosts, Welshie.
Get your credit card out.
And before we get into some fantasy deals that you are not going to want to miss on today's show, we like to kick things off with a little section we call Hobbies Goings On, where we take a look at some of the goings on that have been happening in some of the hosts' Warhammer lives. So, who wants to go first? Welshie, do you want to dive into some Hobbies Goings On?
Yeah, I suppose so. Hobbies for me the past few weeks has been lots of playing Warhammer, really. I have managed to finish the Mallenthrope model. That picture's up on the Instagram if anyone wants to see it, which was good fun. Lots of milliput involved in that, making a Forge World model that I should have had for ages. It's way bigger than the proxy I've been using for a long time. So that's probably been cheating, basically, for the past few years, but whatever.
So what is the Mallenthrope for us, non-Tyranid players?
It's a Forge World model. Do you know, there's these things called Venomthropes in the Tyranid Codex that are like floating testicle sacks with whip coils. It's a big floating testicle sack that basically oozes gas, and its function is to give a -1 to hit aura, basically.
A gassy testicle.
Testicle, cool. Like that makes
Sounds
it
good.
harder to see surrounding units and gives them -1 to hit. So, it's the big daddy of the gassy testicles. It's swollen. It's like that South Park episode. Yeah.
We're talking some irradiated nuts.
Yeah. But aside from that, like playing lots of Warhammer, played listener Jeff yesterday. That was really nice. Organised a Warhammer tournament in our local gaming club last weekend. Organised a doubles tournament, which went very well. I hope everyone had a good time that was there.
Nice.
Some pretty cool lists. So yeah, lots of playing Warhammer. Lots of just having fun, thinking about future games, future models, future armies, etc. So that's my week.
Right. Matt, what have you been up to on your hobbies goings on?
Well, I've been on holiday, and as we have said before, as soon as you go on holiday, you want to start Warhammering. So I was stuck on a sunbed on a beach by a swimming pool. And I just wanted to be, I just wanted to be at home and be in my hobby room painting.
Curtains closed in the dark.
Get the sunlight off me.
Yeah. Yuck.
But it was quite cool. I bought a Black Library book from 2001. Weirdly, it was like 20 quid. I don't know why it was so expensive, but it's a paperback about Battlefleet Gothic. It follows a captain and his flag lieutenant on a ship called the Lord Solar Macarius, or just the Macarius. And I remember they had like a section of it in White Dwarf like 20 years ago, and I thought it was really cool reading about the space battles, and it's taken me that long to go and buy the book. So I've been reading that, and now I'm desperately trying to build my Armies on Parade board for my Sisters of Battle. And
are you entering this year?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay.
The deadline is very soon. Yeah. And a bit worried about the deadline. But
are you going to do it in store and online, or are you just submitting the photos?
It's not in store.
I think it's both. I think. You can do both, but.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I wasn't really planning to do it in store. Photos are really easy, aren't they? Because you kind of you have a deadline, whatever it is, and you normally struggle to hit the deadline, but you just take a couple of quick photos and then that's it, it's done. Whereas going to the shop is just a bit of a faff.
Absolutely. You can as long as the photos are great, because you don't even need to paint the back of that motherfucker. No one's going to see it. It's just like as long as you get as long as you paint it angled up enough to get a decent photo of that thing, the client's happy, everyone's happy, boom.
Nice. So a nice refresher, Matt, back in the game, back in the Warhammer game.
And actually, I was also with Welshie and Jeff yesterday at the Dice Saloon playing a game against Murray. The first time I've ever played a game of Warhammer against him.
That's for listeners who don't know the intimacies of Matt's life. That's a long-term school friend of Matthew who's just started playing Warhammer.
What about you, Stoney?
Well, I mean, you know, at risk of making this particular beginning section of the show just about people we know and friends that we have that listeners probably don't know, I haven't been able to do any Warhammer stuff for a while, just being a bit busy. But like I was in contact recently with our friend Merv, who again is a listener of the show. Years ago, when Merv started getting into this, I gave him a Demon Prince model, a Nurgle Demon's Prince model, which was the very first thing that I made. Must have been back in like 2010 when I got back into Warhammer, and like I carved the head out of wood. I did a load of I stuck a load of bulldog clips on it to make like a jump pack kind of thing. It was all held together with like green stuff and that. And he just entered that big tournament that just happened in
London Grand.
London Grand. That motherfucker went to the London Grand, did really well, and one of the models he was rocking in there was that Demon Prince from 12 years ago, 11 years
Fame
ago.
At last.
Exactly. So finally, it's good to know that it's so that kind of brought a little tear to my eye. You know that this thing from all them years ago was out on the board, winning battles, gaining the glory of Nurgle, rather than sitting here gaining the glory of Nurgle by going moldy on my shelf, you know. So
Stoney, did he so what? He got in contact with you and just said, "Hey, I've used your model at the Grand," or did people comment on it? And then
just me and him were just chatting. He just contacted me. We were just chatting a little bit, and he showed me his army list and said, "Hey, you know, your Demon Prince is in there." And I was like, "Oh, my boy, my sweet baby boy."
It's the news. Wow. It's the chuffing news.
Have you heard? Sixes are now fours.
It's the news.
Gene Stealer Limo's back.
News.
Are you sick and tired of getting in and out of rooms the normal way? Do you want to try to find a key up a duck's arse and stick it in a hole that looks like a map? Well, then you're going to love the new 40K escape room that's featuring in Nottingham, whether I do believe. This has been hyped for a little while, but we've got some official news on it right here, breaking live on the Large Blast podcast. Welshie, take it away.
Oh, well, my official news doesn't go much beyond the fact that I'm really excited about the fact there's an actual 40K escape room in Nottingham, which is extra great because you don't have to go to two places, because you're going to be going to Nottingham anyway, right?
Yeah.
To go and visit like Mecca. And while you're there, you can go out and have some beers and go to the escape room. And the pictures from inside look fucking great.
Yeah.
They're very on brand.
It's in a spaceship, isn't it? I believe. I judged that from the photograph of the advert, but you're right. I hadn't thought about it. I mean, they should have loads of stuff like this in Nottingham. You could have a whole weekend going to all different places. Now you can go to the Games Workshop, GW store. You can go to the Warhammer World, the museum, Bugman's Bar, and now the escape room. You could do this a whole weekend. Brilliant.
The birthplace of Gav Thorpe's just got a blue plaque outside.
Has it actually? Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, dark days are here again. The toys are back. This time McFarlane's out, sacked off for shoddy casting. Joy Toy, official Games Workshop toys are here. Action Men, we've complained about them before. It looks like they're here to stay. I mean, what do you guys think about this then? This is Games Workshop now, right?
This is life. Everything's just getting bigger. Primaris was only the first step.
Yeah. The legs just look really weird.
What I've got to say, I've got trying to say something positive. I mean, I think we all discussed before, we don't see the point in these existing at all. That said, these are much better quality than the McFarlane shit we talked about last episode.
But if you're into the toys, there's more of them. We here at the Large Blast podcast have come to accept it. We don't like it, but it's here.
I just before we change the subject and get off the toys, I actually spotted on Instagram a friend of mine who I went to university with, absolutely no connection with Warhammer at all. He's a crafty guy. He works in the TV industry making sets and stuff, David. And he posted a picture of painting one of those toys. I don't know which one it was. One of the Space Marine figures, the action figures. So I got in touch with him. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And he was like, yeah, I'm like that caught my eye. I'm painting it,
Well,
and converting it,
that's
and
the thing
now I'm
is
into
the-
Warhammer.
We
And
found
that's
the
like-
people.
Yeah,
I
so
think that's the-
he is now into Warhammer because.
But this is the
toy.
thing: is we're like the painting them and stuff. Again, I get there's Gunpla people, there's people that like the Gundam and all those kind of mid-sized toys or whatever, putting them together, painting them up, converting them, all that kind of shit. And that's cool. People enjoy that. That's all fun. But like eventually, like we've seen toys, we've seen straight up toys coming. We've seen like the Space Marine playset is just around the corner. It is, we are months away from seeing that bad boy come out. So. Next news is Games Workshop are giving away free minis as long as you spend £150 on their new website. On everything, you could get yourself a delicious free miniature. It will cost you nothing as long as you spend £150. So, what do you think about this? Who's this guy? He's fighting a bunch of Necrons. I've seen this model on the website. Actually, I thought it was a bit dodgy myself.
Did you? I thought the model was quite cool. It's just a sergeant, so it's no one special.
Okay.
I thought the model was cool, but I just thought it was funny for us to chat about because it's this. They everywhere it was free, and it's not if you spend £150. But then there was also massive fallout, which I was enjoying, of people online absolutely losing their shit over the fact they'd called it free, and you need to spend £150. It's like, well, if you were going to spend 150, great. If you weren't, just stop worrying about it.
Yeah,
fine. Your life will go on.
Yeah. I mean, is this not also for sale on the website as an individual model? I'm pretty sure I was on there recently. I saw it on there, but maybe I'm wrong.
You can only get it.
Either way, we should just kind of assume nowadays that any announcement from Games Workshop is going to deter the ire of some greasy basement dweller somewhere, and he's going to get on the fucking internet.
It's so weird, isn't it? Like, people aren't like this with other companies. Like, what do people expect? It's a fucking business. Like, you can't. They're just like, I don't know. People act like children when. I don't know.
I mean, people are like this with everything. Like I follow a lot of like music blogs or whatever, and as soon as somebody releases a different album that's anything other than the album they're super known for, everyone's like, right. I fucking hate this guy. How could they shit all over my dreams?
Yeah.
And it's not even like I'd understand some of the anger more if it was. And we kind of talked about this with the Warhammer Plus model that you got. If this was a model that had completely different rules that was going to be really powerful on the tabletop, I could kind of understand. But it's not. It's just a sergeant. Like it's no different to any other sergeant. No one's going to win a game of Warhammer because they managed to get one of these.
I mean, like the sergeant that we're looking at here is just a guy with a gun and a chainsword, and there's some Necrons coming back to life on his base underneath him.
Yeah,
this would be the simplest kit bash in the world to make something the same as this. If you really wanted something like this, is just a guy, a normal fucking. There's nothing special about the Space Marine. It's just on a fancy base with some Necrons coming up. If you wanted to make this yourself, have at, like, you could make this easily from the starter box set now with Necrons and whatever, and that would cost you 120 quid, and you'd get all the rest of the models. So if you're like, I didn't want to get this model for free unless I spend 150 quid, spend 120 quid, make 50 of these dudes, do whatever the fuck, just shut up. Okay, so this weekend has just seen the LGT, and we've had some number crunching from the top-rated armies that were kicking ass all over there. So if you were thinking about making some competitive lists, maybe this could be interesting to you. What do you guys think about some of these numbers we're looking at right here?
I think it was interesting. So this is. To be honest, I ripped this straight off the Goonhammer website, and they're really good at going into super competitive play and lists and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was interesting to see how there really is a bias at the top level of gaming at the moment in the hobby that we play. And none of us play to this standard where it really matters to this point. But out of the 16 armies that didn't lose during the weekend, 5 of them were Admech and 4 of them were Drakari. 3 of them were Death Guards. There really wasn't much kind of spread. And even within those factions, the lists were very, very similar. And I just wondered what you guys kind of thought about playing in that style, where if you don't have the list that's going to absolutely smash your opponent. The grand final was conceded at the end of turn 1 So between the
me.
first and second place, conceded at the end of turn 1 because the AdMech list literally deleted the Death Watch off the table. They were just gone. Just gone.
Jesus.
Turn 1. Yeah.
Well, I
I
mean,
think there are 3 models left, but yeah.
I mean, competitive play is kind of a different beast altogether. And when you see stats like this, it does make you think, oh shit, there is just now a winning list. There's not like a better way to play. There's just a certain group of certain ingredients for a winning cake, if you know what I mean, that you can just put on the field. And that's upsetting. That shows that, you know, people do complain about codex creep and things like that. And maybe this is kind of like more fuel to their fire. So that is a bit of a shame.
I agree, but also I kind of think as well, it is the player, and you mentioned cake. It's like the codices have a big list of ingredients, and you can kind of put the lists together. And the best codexes are the codexes that allow you to increase your mix of ingredients and allow you to do a lot more with less points. And some of the codexes are just better than others at doing that. The Space Marine Codex is not as good as the AdMech Codex, just because of the units you can field in the AdMech Codex. But all of it is irrelevant if the player isn't like a top tier player who knows how to put all the combinations together. And I don't know. I mean,
that's what I thought was quite interesting reading some of the reviews from this, because like you say, I mean, if we took the winning list to LGT, we'd still get beaten because we're not as good at players as these people. And it was quite interesting to read these like super top tier armies. They ended up going up against each other and just deleting each other turn 1, which you kind of, I wonder what their perspective is like, oh shit, that's what I've been doing all morning, wiping people that don't know what they're doing off the board, and now I've just got wiped off the board. Maybe they then this is dull, let's try it a different way. I don't know.
But I mean, that's kind of, I think that you're both right. Matt, you're saying, it has to be the player and it's just about your list making abilities. And Welshie, you're saying, that becomes a problem when you're just both pitching the same list kind of thing. Yeah. I think that like what this hints at when we're looking at the number of same lists here on this list here, there's a good deal of repeat offenders, shall we say, hints at balancing issues. It hints at the fact that you can't make these lists outside of a certain codex or whatever, which is a big problem. Honestly, you should be able to like why are there no Tyrannid lists on here? Why are there no Tau lists? You know, like if all this stuff is really balanced like it's supposed to be, then you should be able to make these winning lists, like you say, in different ways. Because if you know everyone's going to be bringing an AdMech list, like, how can I do this in a Tau way that would delete so I could be anti-AdMech at the same time or something? You know, there should be this rock scissor paper to these kind of lists, because they are like doing these competitive lists. It's a bit like doing a list on life support. It's like designed to work a certain way, and as soon as it fucks up, then you're just like, you know, it's gone. The whole game crumbles around you. You know what I mean? So like it like, unless you're given the tools to do that in different and interesting ways. And if it does just come down to 2 players showing up with the same list, best player wins, then that really hints at balancing issues to me anyway.
I mean, well, you mentioned Tau and Tyrannids, and you look at the list that we're looking at of the 16 armies. They're all got 9th edition codexes, and you don't have Tau and Nids on there because they're still on 8th edition codex. So so definitely there's a balance issue, but the issue is more just that they haven't had a 9th edition codex.
But then you know, I mean, haven't AdMech had like 2 in?
They've just had a lot, and they are like, there's things they really, Games Workshop really should address some of the issues in FAQs that have come out of this weekend. There was talk on the terrains not quite as line of sight blocking as it should have been, knowing what kind of armies people were running. But this is like, I don't realise, I think there were over 600 people at this event, right, playing Warhammer, which is great for the hobby. 600 people at a tournament in London playing Warhammer in the same room. But you don't realize when these people writing their lists, they're like, some of them are purposely writing it because they know instead of getting 100 points, which is the most you can get, they're writing a list to get like 97 points, knowing they get exactly 97 points, so that they do this thing called submarine, where they just get slightly lower than the people at the top.
Oh, yes.
So they're like second and third games are easier, and then they can come back up the other side. And it's just a different world. It's something that I know that none of us are really into, but I found it really interesting to kind of read about and watch. And you're right. I mean there's things that need to be fixed.
And I mean, list making is like so key in something like a competitive game. And if we're seeing the same list every time at the top, we're looking at it here now. You can't see this, listeners at home, but there's 3 of the same fucking list here, is it not? In the top here, 3 of the same variant. That's a problem. You know, Games Workshop should look at that.
Agreed.
Cool. So Gen Con has been and gone, and we're left with just the reveals. And we've got some tasty new Kill Team boxes coming out. So some sort of resculpts of some Tau models, still looking pretty similar as you've come to know and love. And some Sisters of Battle looking very different from what you might have got in the box.
Epic.
Looking very cool, very epic indeed. So what do you guys think about some of this new Kill Team stuff?
New Tau models. It's amazing. Who would have thought new Xenos models? That'll keep all the Xenos players happy for another year.
I've got to be honest, I didn't want to just jump straight into what I thought about these Tau models, but I'm going to do it. I really hoped that if there was going to be any new Tau releases from Games Workshop, they were going to be kind of a bit more stunning, a bit more blown away, a bit more a taste of what you could expect to see from a Tau range in the future. And these are very in keeping with the current Tau range, I'll give them that, but the current Tau range is fucking bobbins. So as a result, these Tau guys look a bit bobbins to me. I don't know what you guys think about that.
So, I've got a Tau army, but it's mostly orcs holding Tau's heads, wearing Tau costumes. So that's what I initially think of Tau to start with. But you're right. I mean, I didn't even realize. I had to double check like my old Tau codex because I thought these were just new heads. They're not. They are complete new sculpts. The guns and stuff and some of the bits and bobs that they've got on their arms is new. But they are so similar to the current models that are really old that I initially just thought, they've got some new heads with better expressions from the fish camels.
Thought that it's really jarring to see them next to the Sisters, which are completely different to anything you've seen from the Sisters range. So when I saw this as when I saw this dropped, I thought, this is a box that come together or whatever. And I thought, so what you get in this box is a whole new range of Sisters sprues and the current Tau range sprue. That's what I thought at first glance. It wasn't until I looked in and was like, hang on a minute, that guy's bending his knee. That's different to another Tau model I've seen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what you said there about them being completely different, I think part of the issue with the Tau, they've always been different. And if you go back and listen to our Tau episode, we talk about it and whether they really do fit into the 40K universe. But they are so contrasted with these incredible new Sisters models that look like they've taken sexy nun to a new level. These look like, I used to have this B movie called Flavia the Heretic that was like a B movie. I think it was described as a nun-sploitation film with the habits and the dresses and stuff. And these are like, they've just gone all the way down that road. And I think they're incredible.
Nun-sploited.
They're amazing.
They're so amazing. Good.
When I saw the box, I don't know. I quite like the Tau models. I think the fact that it fits in the current range, I quite like that. I like their faces. You see a lot more of what they look like in a model.
There's more expression.
And I like the way it's so jarring with the Sisters. I think that it really is what the Tau should be. They should be so different to humanity and the Imperium, which is this weird religious almost cult thing, and it's so different to the Tau in this box set, where they're like sci-fi aliens that you see in a, as we said, a different universe to 40K, and actually that's what's quite I don't know, not cool but interesting about them.
Yeah. No, I can see that. They do, they definitely look different to each other, that's for sure.
But you're right.
It's just, I mean, that these Sisters in particular, I mean, even if they'd been Sisters in the more standard Sisters armor, you would have been like, okay, I don't know, but these ones, you could almost, if you took the guns off these guys, you could almost use them in Age of Sigmar. So the juxtaposition is massive. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I was a Tau player, I'd be champing at the bit for some new models, and I'd be a little bit disappointed to have a few resculpts like this. But then, that's just me. I'm all about the models, so that's what I'm thinking about. Okay, Blood Bowl news. If you want yourself a badass Khorne Blood Bowl team, then try the Skull Tribe Slaughterers, because they're just out and they're looking pretty fucking sick.
This is one of my favourite reveals from the Gen Con, to be honest. I think these are great. This is the team I tend to play on the Blood Bowl computer game. They've got a lot of energy. I like the werewolves. I like the berserkers.
God, man, you could do a really nice Khorne Berserker Chaos Space Marine army with that.
I was literally just about to say, like, Games Workshop are doing everything they can not to release Khorne Berserkers. But they're releasing every other model that you can convert so easily into a Khorne Berserker, but don't release the goddamn Khorne Berserkers.
Yeah, like, they are really nice models.
There's a few Age of Sigmar Khorne bastards that you could just stick at. I've seen some really cool Khorne Berserker converts for it. The Games Workshop ones are still those dodgy old tiny marines standing like doing pirouettes on one leg.
Rolling in my 6-4.
Welcome, Large Blast podcast listener, to the Items and War Gear episode of the Large Blast podcast, where we've got some fantastic deals for you on some amazing Warhammer War Gear. Isn't that right, boys?
Oh yes, buckle in.
And the first deal that we have today for you at home is the Adeptus Astartes Auspex Scanner Type 18. This truly is the first multi-scanner to offer both simplicity and a short-range sensory device to detect and analyze any surroundings. This includes functions like a motion tracker, invisible gas analysis, and the detection of ambient energy emissions across a wide band of electromagnetic spectrums.
Well, that's all well and good, Stoney, but what does that mean to the simple man like myself?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Welshie. It means that this little beauty can detect extreme heat, radiation, plasma, and any ne'er-do-wells in your area, even whilst inside a vehicle. And with a range of 50 meters, you can always be sure when you have your Auspex with you.
Now I never leave home without my Auspex scan.
Ha ha ha, that's right, Welshie, why would you? And now the Auspex comes not only in original handheld variant we've all come to know and love, but also in a Terminator heads-up display model. So if you're into the heavy gear and looking for a hands-free multi-scanner that won't let you down when you need it, then the Auspex really is the only choice for you.
Wow. That sounds like a real bargain.
So this is the simple Auspex scanner, boys. And what I think is interesting and why I chose to do the Auspex scanner today is because this is your basic sci-fi thing that you hold in your hand, that like your MacGuffin thing that you go beep boop boop beep beep boop, and it goes atmosphere breathable or whatever, which I think is quite funny because it's kind of an invention so useful but not yet invented that it's appeared across so many sci-fi things. That is it's like Ghostbusters, Aliens,
Star Trek. In Star Trek, they're the size of a mobile phone, and in Warhammer 40,000, they're the size of like a
80s mobile phone.
Or and it's a really good choice because it's like a little piece of tech that isn't a weapon that we've all come across on the kits.
And they're iconic. They've been on the kits. That same kind of weird rectangle with a kind of semicircle on top of it with the bits poking out, strapped to legs. They're the kind of thing that
they're on.
If you weren't that into the lore, you'd be like, "What the fuck's that on the floor? Why have those of the bases got this little walkie-talkie thing on the floor?" Just the outline's so iconic. There's that fellow who makes those great YouTube videos, Auspex scan, and it's literally his logo is the shape of an Auspex scan.
It is, and there's one strapped on the inside of the Rhino. When you build the kit, it's on the wall.
I think it's also really needed for a game that has like where you play the part of an omniscient overlord, because it's like, oh, how do these space marines know what's around the corner as you command them? Well, they've got like a little computer TV that they've got that tells them.
And also, like, we talked loads where the new codices have come out and 8th edition started, and how rules becoming thematically linked to lore more. And it's one of the most important stratagems that you can play in Space Marines is the Auspex scan strat. And if someone deep strikes near you, you can shoot them before they do anything. And it's like, it's embedded in everything.
I've just had an amazing idea. And we should do this before Games Workshop do this, right? You know, you can get all your rules on your iPad. Yeah.
So I heard.
You build like a case that looks like an Auspex scanner, and you put your iPad in it, and you turn up at the Warhammer the Warhammer events with this like Auspex scanner. And it's
shit. We got to get fire up the 3D printer.
You get to the final of the LGT, and the player will be like, no, you've already won.
Yeah,
you won't even play it. You've won it.
It's funny going to do one turn anyway. It's funny that we're going in reverse. We've already said that, you know, a phone, like, it's the size of an old 80s mobile phone. So if you're taking your slim, new, amazing phone and strapping it into a thing the size of a breeze block to show up to places.
Yeah, great choice. Great choice.
The humble Auspex scanner. Get yours now.
The first item I've got for you is a true masterpiece. And it's rolling out of the big mechs incorporated workshops. Throw out your garden equipment.
I will.
Throw out your kids' playset.
It's gone.
There's no need for pest control.
Great.
Throw out even your television, and it's got a kitchen sink. Okay, this is the be all and end all. You only need this one piece of kit.
Tell me more.
But to introduce it fully, I'll just play a quick introduction clip from the orcs themselves.
Alright, I've got what you want. When the great ball of fire is burning in the sky, turn any knob into a bigger knob with this here big knob masher bits.
No, I've got a better idea. It's a thing, right, that you can keep all the leaves off your driveway.
No, what you want is a big gun that you can use to blast all them pests.
No, come here, Bubbles, boss. Bubbles. Bubbles.
Yeah, it's the bubble chukka bubble gun, which is the weirdest, most interesting piece of tech in the 40k universe. It's a bizarre force field projector. It's a peculiar weapon that generates clusters of spheres that will vary wildly in size and solidarity, and you can send them over and rain on your enemy in the wind, bring death and doom from the skies. In the game, it's ridiculously powerful, or it's completely useless, and that pretty much sums up the orcs, really. Have you got? Do you use one, Welshie?
No, I don't. Well, I don't have an orc army, but I do love them, and they are one of the selection of guns that are in the orc codex, aren't they? That you just roll on, and they will wipe someone off the board. All their big stuff will be gone, or they'll just do nothing. They'll just fail to do anything, and it's that real fun that does come with the orcs, and the idea of like, there's nothing more fun when you're a kid than just fucking bubbles. Just like tubes of bubbles. And I agree. They are a very funny piece of weird tech that only the orcs would invent.
Yeah, turning up to a battle with like just a gun that sprouts bubbles out. It's stupid. I was trying to look into the rules a little bit more. Just weird and stupid, and so I bet the grots love them.
So how does it work? How is it like a big?
You roll on it.
Is it like a big in the lore? Is it like a bubble made of acid or something that comes out and floats around? And,
no, that's it is. No, it's not made of acid. It's
there's squigs in the bubbles.
It's the codex calls it a bizarre force field projector,
Oh,
And
so that makes little force field, like bubbly force
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
it generates clusters of energized spheres, and they vary wildly in size and solidarity. So they like, I think that's where it's either really powerful or it's really weak. Like you could make a bubble that is
Just
like
a
a bubble.
bubble.
Yeah, or you
It could be
make
like a
bubble.
fucking cannonball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe the bubble is, the dangerous ones are like they're bigger than a normal bubble. And they're heavier, and maybe they're filled with
They're
like,
just sort
I
of
don't know.
bouncing around like a massive boulder, just bouncing around the battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah. The codex didn't really go into more detail than that. I had a couple of photos sent to me.
But
It doesn't really say anything more than that.
It contrasts quite with the Auspex. We were saying, like, the Auspex scan, it's a traditional sci-fi trope that's in everything. It's quite grim dark, and then this just symbolizes the humor that is part of the 40k universe. It is part of the orcs and the silliness of things like Obi-Wan, Sherlock Clouseau, etc. That there is this stupid side in a world of quite horrific, old school, old-fashioned technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the savage orcs showing up with a bubble gun. What's next? They're going to have like a fucking a special rule for a flower they have on their jacket, and when you sniff it, it shoots out a fucking plasma grenade or something.
Yeah. It's all good, and but like it goes with that mech, the orc tech as well, isn't it? That they don't really understand what they're doing. They can just hammer bits together, and suddenly it's a thing that wasn't a thing before.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Do you want to stand out from the crowd with a suave new look? Are you tired of clunky, grinding joint mechanisms? Do you take your style inspiration from Edgar Allan Poe? Well, check out this excellent set of Mark VI power armor. Complete with a backpack power core unit, non-dweeb friends will mistake for a jetpack, a year's supply of tasty nutrient reservoir, it's wool wrap flavoured, thigh-hugging cuisses allow a slim fit look before leading down to a fully flared greave stocked with gyroscopic stabilizers and magnetization locks. But the real bonus of the Mark VI is the avian-style beaked helm, which gives you the space you need to breathe. Perfect for those with noses a Roman would be proud of, or if you like to suck on a lollipop as you toast your heretics. So snap up this excellent bargain while you can, maybe pick up a jetpack, and you'll be a Vanguard veteran in no time.
And you'll have a lovely codpiece.
Oh, so this is beaky armor.
Beaky armor, beaky power armor. We can't do tech without Theator just talking about the power armor, I didn't think.
Yeah. I do love the idea that all beakies have just got like a hero sandwich or something stuffed up there in the
and
beak
a lollipop.
there.
Yeah. The comment about the backpack being a jump pack if you're not inclined to know much about the 40k universe is very true.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks. This is basically because they all have jump packs. It's like no, it's just a backpack. So when I picked this tech for doing this episode, I thought I'd just talk about the backpack because I thought, let's talk about what's inside that. But it's literally just a battery. It's just the power core. And it's also really important, apparently, for regulating temperature because, Space Marines can survive like inside a volcano and also in like frozen wilderness. So the battery basically gets really hot, and the circular things that are on the side are the vents for venting out the heat.
All right.
So it will always be really hot unless the vents are venting out the heat. So I was thinking, so you just run up and like stick some chewing gum or something in the vents, and you just cook the Space Marine.
So,
or you could cook food off it.
Yeah, well, that's
you
true.
could have a grill, like a grill underneath it.
Yeah.
How did it in your research, or to the listeners wanting to buy the power armor suit? How do you recharge the battery? Or does it charge itself?
It didn't really say how you recharge it. I assume
Maybe
it's some kind of horrible rad-reeved nuclear reaction going on at the base of your spine.
Yeah. Well, because this is one thing I always wonder about. Like, I've seen different depictions of Space Marines and like getting in and out of power armor, and sometimes they're all covered in kind of like Matrix style holes.
Yeah, they got all
Yeah.
holes
that
on
look
them.
like
Yeah.
they kind of like looks like they kind of plug into the armor in a kind of
They have the membrane, don't they, under their skin? They're basically skinned alive, and they get turned
black,
into a space marine.
whatever.
The
is
black,
that
the membrane.
what's it
yeah,
called?
that's it. And that I
is it-
think interacts with those buttons that are on because they have like big round bits of metal in their skin, and I think they literally plug into the power armor so that it feels like they're not in an armor. They're like
There's that
just
wonderful
in a-
scene when there used to be animations on YouTube. I think it's called Raptor. That's like a space marine getting like plugged into the armor being like drilled onto him.
Yeah.
And they were saying in the research, because obviously the Mark 6 armor is Horus Heresy armor, and I love it because it's known as the Corvus pattern, right? So the Beakies, it's the Raven Guard. It was invented apparently because it was quieter, and the real reason for the beak thing, it's got something to do with just making it quieter and making the breathing bits quieter so they can be more sneaky, and it's lighter, so it's the best armor to have jetpacks strapped to and actually be flying around as assault marines. Which is why I kind of like
That's
it. But
fun.
they said, the blobs that are on the left shoulder. So, in the Horus Heresy Space Marines, they often, and some in the new kits, have got those like tennis balls on the left shoulder.
Yeah,
pad.
kind of studded, big studs.
Apparently, that's like they're like big. They call them like molecular bond bolts or something, but they can like pop them off and change the material, because all of the Horus Heresy design stuff is. There's loads of stuff about this armor, right? You could get super dweeby on this armor, but they were all the various variations were based around supply chains in the Horus Heresy and not being able to get the right material. So the ones with the like tennis balls on, if they couldn't get the right material, they were quite easy to like pop off and make something different that would go underneath, and then the tennis balls would like bond the material they could get hold of into the shoulder pad. So there's loads of stuff behind those slight variations in armor that I didn't even realize was a thing.
It always looks like it's like a Dalek, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look like that.
Yeah, they
I'd keep bath bombs in there after a long day of space marine. Want to have a soak,
That's I always wondered why they just have a shoulder pad with balls on it. Or it's
that's quite,
shoulder pad or a shin, isn't it?
Yeah,
but I always think of that as quite like when you see like medieval armor and stuff, like leather armor, it will have like leather as like a weaker material, and then it'll stud it with something, like metal to make it. So I always just thought of it as like, well, the shoulder pad bit is quite soft, but those huge balls of metal are really hard. So it would just be like an extra layer of protection. But
the beaky helmet. So a normal Space Marine helmet has a big grill in front of its mouth. So how?
Well, I think that if you look really closely at the beaky, they do have small slits down the side.
Oh, right.
But I think the big grill is that real like Space Marine talking like Darth Vader idea, which isn't very sneaky. You can do like the kind of big Vox caster mouth.
It'd be funny if you found out that the beaky mask's like opened at the bottom and it just was like a dog's mouth going like if you wanted it to talk or put a sandwich in or something.
Pop a hot dog
talking of have you seen there's been a few good memes of the new Grimaldus model, because his grill
with
looks like
the Skeletor mouth. There you are. If you my perfect power armor is the Mark 6. That's what I'd suggest buying. But if you're really into your different classes of power armor, the world is your oyster. There's lots of info online about it.
Matt, let me ask you something.
Go ahead, Stoney.
Have you ever felt inadequate in social situations or at the workplace?
Every day of my life, Stoney.
Do you fear the day those used in the park will finally turn their mocking attention towards you, or that your colleagues at work will find out that briefcase you've been bringing every day is actually full of little more than ham sandwiches and hand-drawn Celestine porn?
I'm on my second warning already, Stoney. I can't afford to have another slip-up like that.
Well, don't worry, Matt, because now every time you make a social faux pas, you can simply distract your audience with unexpected backflips, thanks to the new flip belt.
Oh, wow.
That's right, Matt. This patented Harlequin technology harnesses anti-gravity fields triggered by neural commands, allowing the wearer to pivot effortlessly at hip level and perform death-defying feats of acrobatics. that will distract anyone from any awkward conversation they were about to have with you.
And it's so stylish too.
It sure is, Matt. And this handy clip on the front holds a soul gem that can house your spirit. Should you die, it won't be eaten by the Dark Lord Slanesh. Or you can put your mobile phone in there. It's up to you. And speaking of phones, I think we have someone on the line right now looking to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm Gav Thorpe.
Hello, Gav. Have you seen the quality of this amazing belt?
So although it's very convenient, actually, there is a price factor.
Well, order 3 now and get 3 more for free. That's right, for free. But I should warn you, Gav, that this belt is designed for a smaller framed individual, as it is made with state-of-the-art Elder technology, and they do tend to be smaller than the standard Warhammer Geek build.
You go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that definitely fits.
Ha ha ha, if you say so, big boy.
Oh, well, that's harsh.
Well, thanks for joining us on the LBP shopping channel, Gav. I hope you're happy with your purchase.
Yes and no.
Fantastic, and as usual, I should point out that no refunds are given. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing flip belt. Pride of Eldar everywhere, and a quick fix for anyone trying to get good at gymnastics quickly. Truly a must-buy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
Guys.
So
The
it's a
flip
belt
belt.
that makes you be able to flip around.
Well, I
Like
mean,
a
yeah, it
Harlequin.
does make it. Well, I've got basically it makes Harlequins able
amazing.
to flip really quickly because you can basically, it puts like an anti-gravity field at your waist.
Mhm.
And, you know,
That's quite cool.
like, well, it is. I mean, you know, to get serious for a little while quickly here, guys, I mean,
yeah, let's
we've
get
all
serious.
been young men at a certain point of our lives. And, you know, left to our own devices, we've all tried to suck our own. At some stage or another, you know, we've all tried to make that little gap, you know, that little gap. Well, now with the Elder flip belt, I feel like you can suck your own dick with this.
Backwards, like yeah.
Blimey.
You could rim job yourself with the Elder.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Well, like,
flip
I
and
will
slip,
also-
they should call it.
The other thing that's I think is a little bit disappointing about the Elder flip belt is it kind of like, I always felt that Harlequins were like cool flip boys that didn't need like super special belts to like do cool flips and stuff.
yeah.
I'm a little bit upset that they need a cool suck your own dick belt to do their own flips and
Well,
that.
it's funny you took us to the sucking your own dick, because as you were describing it, I was thinking like, what if, you know, you're a Harlequin, you get lucky, you find another Harlequin. I'm not sure they even like have gender, the Harlequin. So just another Harlequin, and you take them home, and they're like going down to undo your flip belt, and it's a nice kind of passionate moment, and they accidentally press the flip button, and suddenly they've got a knee in their face, and your partners that you've taken home, so there's blood everywhere. You're just constantly doing 360s. That seems like a nightmare.
The police find you crying 360ing in the corner.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
With a dead Harlequin at your feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
maybe-
agree. It's kind of ruined the whole image that they can't perform any of their own stunts. That they need some tech to like fly around and look like David Bowie.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's also strange.
In a way, it does feel like in a way they are sucking their own dick, you know, like like metaphorically, they're out here doing all these cool flips. We all think, oh,
Yeah.
Harlequins. Are cool.
You're not
But
a real
no,
artist.
They're just real normal people that can't suck their own dick
Yeah.
like the rest of us.
Yeah. And the other thing, why, if when you die, it's so important to you that your soul doesn't get consumed by Slanesh, and you've got this belt that seems to me like more hassle than it's worth. Why would the belt be the one place you store your like soul protection stone? Wouldn't you have like some more? Maybe like strapped really tightly around your chest, not on an item of clothing that could just pop off at any time.
I don't know, man. I know that cargo shorts are very out of fashion these days, but I still rock them. And I've tried to lock my precious I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll go and surreptitiously buy like a 1/4 ounce of weed, put that in the pocket, one of my cargo short pockets. You know, lost that motherfucker to something, wash, getting it home, all kinds of things. You don't want too many pockets. You want to strap it right on your belt. So especially if it's strapped to your middle, because if you're flipping around, like you're going to notice if that thing's gone instantly, because you're probably looking yourself in the gut half the time as you do roly polies everywhere.
Trying to suck your dick.
Well, that's true.
But it is weird though. Why do you have the spirit stone on an item of clothing that presumably you take off at some point?
I'd have one like embedded under my skin or something.
I was just
like
about, I was just thinking that, that you put it with you, so you can't ever take it off.
But I think that maybe it has to be recovered by other elder as well. Like I think maybe if a chaos guy gets their hand on the soul stone, then so you don't want to hide it too much, so that if another elder comes by and is like, oh, this dead elder, I'll take his spirit stone and make sure it goes to his family or whatever they do. Like like
a dog tag.
And you've hidden it 12 inches up your ass, then, like, no one's ever going to find that, are they?
But like, presumably
they
in the strange world of flip belt and a self fellatio, in a number of those instances where they stumble across the body, that belt buckle is going to be potentially like inch deep in semen, where has all gone wrong.
Well, what happens if that's it? If you wear the flip belt a bit like a girdle, you go to suck your own dick, it pops off, your back breaks as a result, and people and then your family have to walk in and find you doubled up like a fucking clamshell.
Yeah. Oh,
bad times.
Like a crazy world, the world of the Eldar clowns.
Yeah, there you go. The grimdark fashion sense of the future.
Now, for the truly exotic, like an Irish pub on holiday, something you never knew you wanted, from one of the greatest cities in the galaxy. Let me play you this Dark Eldar commercial.
Have you suffered an injury that wasn't your fault? Are being unnecessarily shot at and stabbed? Does your current occupation cause death?
It does.
Fresh from the pain fields of Comoran. Pass your pain and injuries onto your nightmare doll.
Batteries sold separately.
Yes, it's the Dark Eldar voodoo doll, commonly called the Nightmare Doll. It's so rare and only for the homunculi that I've got 500 of them, and I'm selling them at a bargain, half price. They are selling like the proverbial hotcake, so dial in and get your limbs on one of these. The Nightmare Doll is a small doll-like creature or item. If the owner of the doll is harmed in combat, the injuries are absorbed by this creature that you are psychically linked to. And if the owner is riddled with bullets, then tiny holes appear in the thing's withering body, while its master remains whole and unharmed. And the rules, if you do play 40k, the rules in-game are very interesting. It gives you a 4-up, feel no pain on all wounds. So you get stabbed, you don't actually get stabbed, your little cuddly toy gets stabbed. And they come in all sorts of styles, but yeah, they just look like a rag doll.
Do they have a model? Are they modelled on things?
Not that I've seen.
Oh man, if I had a Dark Eldar arm, you'd have to make some, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah,
they would be really
good
good
stuff. Yeah,
voodoo dolls.
But I think it's a relic. And yeah, I mean that's all they are. So
it doesn't like
only
pass
give
the pain on to someone else. It's not like a voodoo doll. It's just it stops you getting hurt. The doll gets hurt, or is it linked to someone else?
No, the doll gets hurt. Okay. You're linked to it.
It's kind of picture of Dorian Gray.
Yes,
type thing.
Yeah. That's quite a Dark Eldar thing, isn't it? You could have.
Yeah, that's
you could
awesome.
make one with a painting. Yeah, like Dorian Gray.
Yeah,
running around with a painting.
Oh, it'd be really cool to have like a painting on your armor, and as you got hurt, just the painting changed. That would be really creepy.
Yeah. Oh so man, I really like the Dark Eldar. I think a lot of their lore and stuff is really cool. I feel it would definitely be on my kind of list of armies that I'd like to have a crack at one day to do some customization and stuff. Because you get a lot of freedom. Like there's a lot, like, you know, one of the cool things about doing like demons and stuff is you get a lot of creative freedom when you do stuff, and I feel you get that with a Dark Eldar as well.
Yeah.
All kinds of weird stitched together beasts.
I was reading about the homunculi who use these dolls, and it was proper grim, like reading the stuff that they do to themselves. Like, there's no limit on what you could just make anything you want, and you could just be like, it's a homunculi, and everyone, and that would be fine, and that would be completely acceptable. You'd be able to just be like, I just wanted to make this thing that
So
is made up
how
of
would it
5
actually
different
work? Like,
things
let's
sewn
say,
together.
but let's say you like actually like stabbed yourself in the leg or something like that, and then like would the knife just bend around your leg and the homuncular doll
yeah.
would get an injury, or would you just stab yourself in the leg and pull it out and it would like heal instantly, kind of thing?
Well, I don't think it's quite like that, because I think when I read about it, it said something like the pain, the physical pain is given to the doll. So I don't think you would be stabbed.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but you're connected. It's like a psychic. You're connected to it psychically. So I don't know.
That's
Maybe
weird.
some weird.
So like,
psychic...
if they chopped off your leg, you still wouldn't have a leg. You just wouldn't feel that you'd lost your leg. Or...
Right.
No. I think you still have a leg. Maybe I don't know. Maybe because it's psychic. Maybe when you stab your leg, the knife just like disappears as it goes
into the warp and comes out the other side.
Yeah, into the doll. So and then
cool.
as they pull the knife out, it reappears out like it's
like one of those toy knives that like go into the hilt and then you pull them off again. Toys from Gamora. Do you have a loved one that's passed away recently in an Underhive shootout? Does your life feel empty without them? Well, what better way to memorialise and keep them in your life than getting on down to Servo Skulls Are Us? We take freshly dead skulls, boil away any excess flesh, and fit them with the best quality cybernetics money can buy. So whether you want old Aunt Bessie to be a translating LinguaVox servitor, or Mad Uncle Ben to hang up your laundry all day, we can do it all. Terms and conditions apply. To qualify for Servo Skull conversion, applicant must be a loyal member of the Adeptus Terra. For info about our special Corpus Mimir, contact us directly.
Lovely bit of tech.
Lovely floating skull tech.
It's service doesn't even end when you die. Your head's going to be reused.
Yeah. I didn't realize like reading back that you had to be like, you can't, not anyone's skull, like, you've got to be quite loyal to count as being able to be formed into one of these.
It's going to be some kind of honor. Yeah, definitely. It's a very grimdark design choice.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that like the people in the future, in the grimdark of the future, are just kind of like, oh, so we need to think of something cool to do for this? It's like, should we use like a cool bird or something like that? Skull on everything. That's what we're going for. Yeah,
It's another thing that's quite iconic, isn't it? He's like they're floating around tech priests. Any Inquisitor tends to have one around him. When I was reading, they have these different roles. Like it could be anything from like hunting down. There's one that's just like there's just a siren in its mouth, and all it's programmed to do is like hunt. It's like a bounty hunter, so it just bobs round the whole Underhive, and then when it finds the person, it doesn't have any weapons. It just starts blaring the siren and just follows them round until like someone comes and picks them up.
Man. I've always wanted to. I think I've seen people make them online, but I've always wanted to. You can buy polystyrene skulls, like full size polystyrene skulls. I've always wanted to buy one and put like a drone on the top of it, and then make the little legs and the antenna and stuff, and make it look like a 40K.
Yeah, that'd be great
thing, and then drive it around. Like, oh man, you could do that. You could do that in the dice saloon. That would be amazing.
Some of them just hold candles. Like if you really wanted to recreate, there's some of them apparently they just hold candles. And then there were these ones that the Dark Mech used, this Corpus Mimir that I mentioned, that are like psychically active skulls. So it's not just the skull with the cybernetics in, it's the skull and a brain that's like kept at functioning below like cognizance, but is still like alive enough as a brain to have like a psychic impact on the world around it.
Oh, cool.
Again, horrible.
The Dark Mech. The Dark Ad Mech. Yeah. Oh man. They are classic.
For me, it's such a Blanchian, grimdark, classic thing. Just to be in the background, it's like you're constantly surrounded by death. Your computers are made of skulls. It's like the thing that holds your candle was a dude's foot or something. You know, everything is like, But
then, like reading about it, like that's what made me think the advert to be a bit like a loved one thing, because you see. It's not that detached from now. You see, like the Day of the Dead stuff in Mexico, where people will literally go and get the bones, and it's happened all in like religions and ancient peoples all over the world, that they would go and visit and sit down and chat to the bones of
where do they have
them.
Well,
they have that place where they put all their bodies in, like they take the bodies out of the grave for one day every year, and then they put it at the table and eat with them.
Yeah.
And that's that happens now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a bit about how all the kind of factions and stuff in 40k are in this experience. They're all experience this kind of stagnation to the point where they like can't progress any further, and it's this kind of like death worship where even every part of we use every part of the buffalo. You know, if you're a loyalist, they'll take every bit of you and make it into a candelabra or something.
But it's like the emperor's greatest resource is bone. There's just like so much of it in the galaxy. It's just endless supply of bone. Like it's like they just make everything out of bone. And actually, it's what we used to do thousands of years ago, make all the tools out of bone.
And weirdly, it's what that's kind of like a connection to the Elder as well, because all of their shit's made out of bones, isn't it? They live on bone planets and stuff, and they're this kind of falling empire.
Someone at Games Workshop must have just been obsessed with bones.
Do you reckon there's any real like Eldar fans of servo skulls that are like singing Wraithbone into like fancy skull shapes? Like,
I'm sure if you could think it, someone out there has made it. Get on Daka and type that in, you'll find 84 hits. Next up, we have the astonishing Martyr's Gift Field Service Medkit. This little beauty really is like no other medkit you have used in the past. Let me show you. Welshie, would you mind coming over here for a moment?
Of course, Stoney. That's a nice gun you've got there. Is that something you're trying to sell today?
Ha ha ha, not quite Welshie. Today we're talking about this incredible Martyr's Gift Field Service Medkit, which is a more advanced version of the standard Imperial Guard medkit that has kept many a brave soldier in combat despite devastating wounds, like this one. You see, the Martyr's Medkit is developed to be used by the crack forces of the Milistratum Tempestus, Special Operation Troops, and these guys don't have time to fuss around with bandages and sticking plasters.
My leg's blown off.
This baby comes fully loaded with all the combat stems of a regular medkit, as well as an auto-cauterizing thematic gel and single-use disposable bionics, meaning that this medkit is intended to ensure that the wounded soldier gets back and into the fight with minimum fuss. And it's so easy to apply, even a dog could do it. Observe!
Oh God, I'm gonna...
Hold still, sweet prince, as I apply this patented cauterizing thematic gel now.
Oh, it burns, but it's...
Ha ha ha, silly Welshie. That's one of the incredible features about the Martyr's Gift medkit, is that it offers zero pain relief to the user, meaning it can focus all its energy on getting you back into the fight as quickly as possible. I mean, long-term healings for pussies, am I right?
I can't wait to get back to the front lines.
So order the Martyr's Gift medkit now, and we'll even throw in this belt of subcutaneous frag charges that can be used to booby-trap a terminally wounded soldier's body. So even in death, the Imperium strikes a blow against the enemy that slew its children. A must-buy for every patriotic member of the Empire. So there you have it. This is the medkit, the Militarium Tempestarium, or whatever they're called, the fancy Imperial Guard guys.
Stormtroopers.
The Militarium Stompastarium. Get out there.
The blue fellas.
The Stormtroopers.
The Stormtrooper guys, exactly. So this is a medkit that's designed for ultimate efficiency with zero pain relief whatsoever. It'll stand you up. It's got like all these makeshift bionics in. So it could be like, your leg's blown off. Let me just shove this, wheel, tricycle in your stump and we'll send you back out. And, So,
oh, that's brilliant. It's like the 40k version of like the action hero that's using super glue, or like that's got a staple gun and is just stapling themselves back together, right? But it's turned up to the max. I like the idea of a cauterizing gel just kind of like melting the skin back together.
Yeah, it's super grim dark. And I mean, I know that the the thematic cauterizing gel is kind of like the, what the punters hear of it. But even still, that sounds terrifying. Even pre-packaged rather than leg burn off juice, it still sounds like an awful thing to have happen to you. I mean, the subcutaneous factor, the frag charges that you can just load inside. You'd be like, okay, there's no saving this guy. Let's strap him up full of explosives and let the enemy get blown up by him. That's some gnarly shit as well. These guys, they're not fucking around. You ain't having an easy time if you're in the Tempestus Monastarius.
Nice. Well, I think we've covered a lot of cool tech there. We'll probably do another QVC shopping episode at some point, I'd imagine. There's a lot more to talk about.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Some great bargains we've seen here today on the LBP Shopping QVC network. So if you want to get your hands on any of the items that you've seen here today, simply put £5 whole in an envelope with LBC Shopping Network on it. Send it courtesy of Welshie. That's Welshie at LBC Shopping Network. And we'll make sure we get you items that you need. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this random topic generator, where we've got a very special random topic generator, where we've had a topic randomly generated by listener UG Minis. That's UG Minis on Instagram. So if you want to follow a cool guy who knows a thing or two about Warhammer 40,000, then go and follow UG Minis, because he's posed a question for us today. What is it, Welshie?
His question was, what do you think about the use of proxies in games? Do you think they should always not be allowed? Is there a bit of leeway? What's people's thoughts on proxies and 3D printing he wanted us to discuss?
I mean, I think if I turned up to a game and someone had an entire army that was made from like green plastic army men, I'd be like, I'm not playing you. If someone turned up and they had one green army man, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. What is it? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Or like one model, maybe two models that are the same size-ish as the thing they're proxying for, then that's okay. It doesn't bother me. But like, you kind of want most 95% of the models on the board really to be Games Workshop, because you've invested your money into buying your army, and that would be my take on it.
Oh, well, that's just bitterness, if you ask me. But, I think I've got kind of two minds about this, because I can see, like, if you were someone who like played competitively or whatever, and like, kind of model size and things was a big factor for you, then this could be something that's irritating. But for me, like as a personal player, like I've owned entire proxy armies myself. Like you guys have like models that I've made every model in the army. I've made my old Nurgle army was like, and I always fit. So I think that I don't want Warhammer to not be an outlet for creativity for people that want to fuck around and do that kind of stuff. I think that it's really important that we allow people to fuck around with what you put on the board and how you interpret Warhammer. I think that's fine to do that, because it's a massive, big old. It's like we were just talking about the Tau appearing in that same box set as the Sisters of Battle. So they obviously welcome this kind of juxtaposition. So why can't I put my army of Garfield statuettes out against your Orc army, as long as I've made some effort to paint them up a bit and kind of put in as much time and effort, So I think I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
But your Nurgle army was made by smashing GW bits together, and like that's different.
Not all of it. A lot of it was a lot of it wasn't that. I mean, maybe.
I think we've got to
I don't see
draw a
that
distinction.
I see that as different. Yeah,
you've
made that
between like you saying you joke in like a Garfield army compared to you who have read the lore and sculpted something that is thematically correct, because it is about inhabiting.
That's not a proxy model.
Inhabiting a world.
That is a model.
Yeah, there's a difference I think between converted models and kit bashed and even straight up scratch built models that represent things from the lore compared to stand-in. There's another question of 3D printing and proxy companies, places like Cromlech or people just going online and 3D printing stuff now, that you know, I like to challenge if I'm talking to people about it and they're asking about it, and I'm not someone who's going to go on Facebook and shout at people like some people do, but I do worry people that are just going to second parties, buying a 3D print file, and the 3D print, the design is just a basic rip-off of GW IP that someone's actually designed. And I know you could argue, well, GW designs are rip-offs of other things IP potentially, but they've paid somebody to make that design, and you're making a pretty much carbon copy. It's taking money away from the hobby. If you're building whole armies like that, it's like the music industry to an extent. Like if everyone just does that, they're not going to have the company to make the rules to play. I think if you want to make a few weapons that you don't get in the sprue, because GW are terrible at including all the weapons that you can put on the sprue, fine. Yeah. But someone who turns up with an entirely 3D printed army that looks a bit like GW IP, that would piss me off, I think.
No, I do agree, because I mean, you can, you know, print 2,000 point army for like 15 quid or something if you've got a printer and some files, whatever the equivalent of.
I see that. Yeah, I mean, just going back. I mean, I don't want you to misunderstand my original point, because that I see that army to me is very different to you, like your Nurgle army. Using that as an example, because the Nurgle army is something that you've created. That is totally different. That's not a proxy. I wouldn't consider that a proxy model. I'd consider that like, oh, look at this amazing army that you've made. But by yourself,
I would say that but 3D printing lowers the bar for the entry for sculpting so much. Like you can go on like SolidWorks or whatever and make like something that you can print that's specifically yours. Do you know what I mean? So like, I do think that it does change things. Or even if you buy one of those files online, if you've got ZBrush or whatever, you can just pull that file in and just change the pose or do something. I do. So for me, I think that like there has to I want it to be a creative thing. Games Workshop and 40K. So I want people to be able to flex their creativity in these different ways and use it. And I guess that in some ways it does become a stylistic choice, because Games Workshop design their models in a very different way than I would say like Chromlech or someone does, where they obviously they make them detailed, and they make them good for painters that are both very inexperienced, and like also you can add as much detail as you want to. You could freehand all over those big cloaks and stuff, but also a lot of the Chromlech ones come with a lot of detail printed into them, so you have to be pretty good at painting. I would say the barrier for entry of painting a Chromlech miniature is much higher than painting a GW one, say. You know, things like that. So I think that they design their miniatures completely differently. So you can like you say, Welsh, you could probably go online, you could buy a few SDs, you know, whatever they're SDLs or whatever, and fire up your printer, print off a whole army. Let's spend you pay 30 quid, you print off fucking 5,000 points of whatever. You put it on the field, someone's going to be like, what the fuck is that? What model's that? Like the first question they're going to ask is not what Games Workshop model is this? They're going to be like, what Chinese truck did that fall off the back of? Do you know what I mean? They might say they like it, they don't like it, but it's not what's carried the franchise to this point, which is the Games Workshop miniatures, and just their design philosophy is different to other companies out there. So if that's something you're really into, and it is something that you can't kind of get over, but there's also some people that aren't as into some of the new design philosophies of Games Workshop and prefer their old stuff and want some of that more bespoke things, and there's some people that just want bespoke minis. So
I think that's another thing that like where I'd be lenient with someone turning up with models. Like I've got two Thunderfire cannons, just because you couldn't get them. You couldn't go out and buy a model that was in the codex. Like, and I think there should be leniency there. If a model's in the codex and it's playable, but you literally can't buy it from Games Workshop, or you can only buy the shitecast version that's going to look terrible, then I'm kind of cool with that. But I think it's a little bit that you could. I mean,
that's just it. It really depends what kind of game you're playing. Like, I'm sure if we've known each other for years, if we showed up and it was like, oh, my the arm fell off, the leg fell off my Titan, I'm using the pepper grinder or whatever for the game, I'm sure none of us would have too big a problem with it. But like, if you showed up at this London Open competition or whatever it's called at the weekend, then that's not going to fly.
Yeah, that's interesting though. So was it run by Games Workshop? I don't think it was.
The
was it?
LGT isn't, no.
So what do they stipulate in the rules pack that it has to be Games Workshop?
I don't know because I haven't read the LGT, but I know in tournaments that I've played in before, you pretty much all tournaments at a decent level, you have to have the right weapons. The weapons have to be right, so that outlaws quite a lot of models. And then tournament organizers will check on conversions. So if you have a converted something or a scratch built something, you will send them a picture, and then they'll say, "Yep, that's reasonably the same size. It's on the right base. I'll allow it." And my experience with that, having a lot of converted models, is, providing they are the right size and have the right weapon on them somewhere, they're cool with it.
Yeah, the weapons thing is something that's always seemed strange to me. Is like, units having to have the right weapon, and I'd be a lot more lenient on proxying in, like, let's say you had a group of soldiers or whatever that had the plasma gun or something, and you're like, okay, no, they've got bolters. I'd feel a lot more lenient about that. Because because you don't want someone to have to magnetize. Like, magnetizing stuff, although it's cool, is a fucking pain in the ass. So I get why people want that, but like, I wouldn't give a shit if someone showed up and just said, "Hey, this gun is supposed to be this one."
I think that's that again. There's an extent. If you've got one unit and they've all got flamers, and then you say they've all got bolters, that's fine. It's when you've got there's a maximum number, I would say, of things that if you want to play someone competitively, you have to. If they've changed 20 things in their army, it shouldn't be up to you to try and remember what they've changed.
Yeah, sure. Let's give them a little cocktail stick flag or something.
What if you turned up? What if you turned up you playing at the dice room with someone you've never played before, and you turn up and they've got a Space Marine army? Yeah, so it's all legit Games Workshop models, and they're like, no, I'm not playing Space Marines. I haven't invested in the new army yet. I'm playing the Sisters of Battle. There's a 10-man unit. There's a 10-man unit. That's 10 Sisters of Battle. 10 Sisters of Battle. That tank is a Rhino.
But you raise a good point there, because I was talking to Jeff about this yesterday, the guy that I was playing, and it's funny because to take that down a step, it's obviously the Space Marine to Sisters is ridiculous, right? But now you can't play competitively a Raven Guard army as Iron Hands or Salamanders, even though the models are the same and the weapons are the same. But you can with everything else, right? Because no one really knows what the colours of Goths versus Bad Moons is. No one really knows what the different Tyranid hive fleets are. So you actually, by painting a Space Marine scheme, you've narrowed yourself into a bit of a hole.
I mean, the funny thing is in a way, it's all count as for numbers and rules, isn't it? It's just it doesn't really matter what it is that you push around and like.
Are you suggesting it's just toy soldiers?
No, I would never ever suggest that this is a serious.
Well, I think we've settled it, really, hasn't we? Just make your own mind up with the person you're playing. Let them know. Be kind. If you're at a high level tournament, expect it to be strict.
Definitely. Yeah, don't fuck around with that shit at tournament play. But if you're going down your local Games Workshop, I think it's probably fine. To be honest with you, if you're like me, because I prefer the models anyway, if I butt heads against someone that's got a really cool army, I'm more interested in the army than I am in winning the game. So it's like, I think it's I always fucking if ever I'm down the dice saloon playing someone, I'm always spend half my time perving on other armies that are there.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I was doing some perving today.
So hello everybody and welcome back to the last part of the show where I pit Matt and Welsh against each other in a little section we like to call the Lords of Law. And this week we have Oscar nominations. So I've got some categories. I've got some nominated, some people that have been nominated Warhammer 40,000 style for the award. And I want you to tell me who you think would win the Warhammer 40,000 award for example, best hair. And the categories in the best hair category are Magnus the Red, Jan Zar, Shadow Sun, and the Calidus Assassin.
Ooh.
So, who do you guys think has the best hair out of that group?
I'm going to settle on Magnus, but as well, because he does have the finest hair. But maybe I could do a little millionaires rundown. I think the Calidus has a great ponytail, but it only looks great because she's in one of those falling from the sky like anti-gravity.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just a ponytail.
Yeah,
So
it's
she's
quite long
out.
though.
Shadow Sun is
I don't even
just
know
a
what hair
crap
she's got.
character. Like
What hair
not
she got?
interested in her. And who was the other one? Oh, Janzar is giving Magnus a run for the money, but
Yeah,
Magnus
but it's Eldar. Yeah.
I assume we're talking modern Magnus, not pre-heresy Magnus.
You
To
still
be
have
honest
good hair,
with you, I
though.
think any of the hot Magnus models are all
Yeah.
sporting
True.
luscious locks. The old one's got the beard as well. He's like,
Mm.
Oh yeah, the big ginger beard, the original Epic model. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go Magnus. I'm staying with Magnus, but
Yeah,
Magnus the Red. So you're both in agreement, Magnus the Red.
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, you're right. I picked Magnus the Red, so you both get a point for that one.
Mm.
Okay. So next category, we have best supporting role, best supporting character, and the nominees are Macarai, the Grinks, the Watchers in the Dark, and the two-headed Psy Eagle. Who do you think I gave the award for best supporting character to?
So the Psy Eagle, we're talking Kotiaz's Eagle, yeah?
Kotiaz's two-headed, very rare Psy
reckon it-
Eagle.
I think it's between that and the Watchers in the Dark.
I think the Watchers are fun. But I think Stoney would have gone with Macarai, and the game is to guess what he's gone with. So I'm going to go Macarai. Even though the Psy Eagle is like the living embodiment of the Aquila, I'm going to go with Macarai. That's my vote.
One vote for Macarai.
I'm going to stick with the Watchers in the Dark.
Watchers in the Dark. Well, Welshie, give yourself a point, my man, because it was Macarai. Of course it was. I love that little guy. Give yourself a point. I don't even give a shit about the Watchers in the Dark. I had to throw them in there as a last minute thing. Sorry, minus 1 point for Matt. Next category is most likely model to return. Is it Fulgrim? Is it the Khan? Is it the Lion? Or is it Malkador?
Fulgrim.
You said specifically model, so a model that's going to be bought out. Not.
It's going to be a model, yeah.
Well,
Fulgrim.
I think
What
we've
was the
said
second choice?
Fulgrim too many times, so I'm not going with that. We're clearly wrong. It's not going to be Fulgrim. We talked about the Lion last episode.
What's the second one?
So Fulgrim, the Khan,
The
the Lion, or Malkador.
I'm going to go. I think you've been logical rather than wishful on this. The Khan's the only one without a Horus Heresy model, so I'll go the Khan.
Okay, so one vote for the Khan from Welshie. Matt, what do you think?
Fulgrim.
Oh, Fulgrim. Okay.
I mean, I
Well-
know that Fulgrim's coming out, so I'm not really thinking
Well-
of your head. I'm thinking of mine.
I'm afraid that you're both wrong. Though Welshie, that was really, now thinking about it with your logic, that is definitely more likely to be the first one that comes out. But I chose the Lion for the stuff we were saying last time. I thought that we've got two Chaos Primarchs to one Imperial Primarch. I thought that the Lion will come out before Fulgrim. So that's what I said. Okay. The biggest, most unnecessary base in 40k. Is it Be'lakor?
I already know what this is, I think.
Okay, Be'lakor standing on those big old steps. Is it the avatar of Yayend, that swirly Eldar guy with in the sort of L shape? Is it the Eversor Assassin, or is it the Triumvirate of St. Catherine? Who has the biggest, most unnecessary base?
What was the third one before the Triumph?
Eversor Assassin is running around that kind of hoop.
Got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think it's that. Yeah, Eversor Assassin.
it's a very stupid. It is unnecessary, but I don't think it's biggest. Triumph of St. Catherine, I think, is kind of necessary. They're carrying the coffin. It's kind of a
biggest
thing.
the category is biggest / unnecessary.
Yeah,
So-
Eversor Assassin. What was the first one? The
Be'lakor, the new demon guy. You know, the revamp of.
I'm going with
I think
Be'lakor
Be'lakor.
because the fire kind of makes sense. The coffin makes sense. The Eversaw's stupid, but not big as well. Be'lakor, there's no reason Be'lakor's walking around with all that mountain underneath him, so I'm going Be'lakor.
Okay. Well, Matt, give yourself a point because I chose the Eversaw Assassin. It was it's too strange a piece. It's a very the pose that the Eversaw is doing could be achieved on a much smaller piece of scenery, but for some reason that piece of scenery became a big part of the model. So Eversaw Assassin. And
now that we did that competition together, my Eversaw Assassin has to walk around with a lady with knives being thrown at her whenever I play him on the board. So
okay, so this next one is taken from a recent survey I saw on Reddit. So what are the four main reasons which of these four main reasons for people leaving Warhammer 40,000 is the most popular? Is it codex creep? Is it lack of vision in Games Workshop? Is it 8th edition? Or is it money? What of those four things do you think is it make people give up 40k the hardest?
Do we have a date for when you saw this poll?
I did this hours before we started recording the show.
And it wasn't an article from like 3 years ago?
No.
Okay. I'm going Codex Creep then. Unless you want a really whiny, like old school Warhammer board, in which case it might be 8th, but I'll go Codex Creep.
Okay, going Codex Creep from Welshie.
Oh, I was going to say that. I'll just say something different for the purposes of being different. What was the second one? Sorry.
That GW lacks vision.
Okay. I reckon it's the last one, which was money.
Money. Well, Matt, give yourself another point. Money is the main reason people seem to quit Warhammer 40k. So,
wow.
what are the points? You guys, I know you guys have been keeping track. What are you guys?
3-2 to Matt currently.
3-2 to Matt. Well, all to play for as we come on to this, the last question, which is going to be a bit subjective. I want you guys to tell me what you think is your favorite thing about 40k and what your worst thing about 40k is. And whoever does the best one gets 15 points.
The worst thing about 40k is that almost every time you go to play, the rules are different. They've updated the rules. They still don't have
you're right,
digital codexes. And the best thing
you're right, amen.
Yeah. The best thing about 40k is that it's one hobby, right? But we can do so many different things. We can build, we can paint, we can write stories, we can do cosplay, we can play a game. Beautiful. There's so many things that you can do. One person likes playing the game, one person likes painting, and one person likes the lore. You don't have to do it all, but you could pick and choose. And that's the best thing. Like, is there anything else like that?
We're all under the 40k family. It's
nothing else like
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go. The worst thing about 40k is walking into a particularly sweaty smelling Games Workshop.
Yeah.
And the best thing about 40k, mindfulness of meditation as it invades every aspect of your life. That's what I'm saying.
So the meditation needed to keep it from destroying everything.
Maybe that's not the escapism it provides from reality.
Oh, okay. The escapism from everyday world that it provides. Okay, cool. After much deliberation, I'm going to go with Matt. I'm going with Matt. 15 points to Matt. I like the Warhammer Brotherhood that we're all a part of. The united. Us here at the Large Blast podcast, we're no different from you, the listener at home, sitting there with your cock in your hand and your Warhammer miniatures to one side, pizza cooling off on one side, dribbling on yourself. The standard Warhammer podcast listener. We're no different. You had a flip belt.
Yeah.
Wishing you had a flip
Tonight
belt.
might be the night without one. You can keep trying.
It is. You dial 99 on your phone and go for that last embarrassing lean towards the dick to see if maybe you can reach it this time. Or is it going to be another embarrassing trip to hospital? We'll see you next time here on the Large Blast podcast. Thanks for joining us in this, the Brotherhood at the personhood, because I'm sure there's some sisters out there, maybe somewhere, listening to this. In which case, Warhammer is in us all. Say goodbye, everybody.
The Emperor's
Bye.